Hare Island on the Mayas River not far from the center of Chelyabinsk lies a small but well-known place called Hare Island. It appeared almost 100 years ago when a dam was built on the Mayas River to power a mill, causing the water level to rise and creating several islands. One of these places became a refuge for hares, which is how it got its name. In those days, real hares could be found here, having come from the riverbanks to escape people and predators. This island is undeveloped and has long been abandoned. However, it is home to tall trees and plenty of greenery, which is why local residents often come here for walks. Sometimes the island is also called Dog Island, apparently because stray dogs used to hide in its dense thickets. A path divides the island in two, connecting to bridges that lead to the island from opposite banks of the river. The part of the island closer to the Leningradsky Bridge has become a popular spot for city dwellers to stroll. Here, you can often see adults, children, and mothers with strollers. The other part of the island lacks convenient footpaths, but anglers can be found in various spots all around. The area of the island is about 10 hectares. If you think about it, that's a huge space, especially considering how close it is to the center of a city with a population of over 1 million people. And yet, for decades, this territory has remained unused in terms of modern urban life. It's hard to believe now, but many years ago the island was full of life. Masquerades, public festivals with dancing, and fireworks displays were held here. In the 1930s, 1960s, there was a boat station, a network of pedestrian paths, a summer stage, park attractions, and sculptures. Crowds of people would gather here. Today, all that remains from those times are old photographs. Since the 1970s, 1980s, the island has no longer been officially maintained by any organization. You can still walk along a wide path that runs around the entire western part of the island. There's plenty of greenery, but no infrastructure. Without human care, nature has steadily reclaimed the land in its own way. There have been several attempts to revive the island. One project even proposed attracting investment from China in collaboration with a local entrepreneur. However, all those ambitious plans to turn the island into a well-maintained blooming park have remained on paper. The island remains a kind of no man's land, and moreover, a crime-prone area. Try visiting here in the evening, when there's no lighting at all. Assaults and even murders have occurred in these parts. On the one hand, Zayaki Island, even in its current state, isn't a bad place for daytime recreation. On the other hand, it has a bad reputation, and not without reason. How to bring civilization back here remains an open question. Hare Island, Chelyabinsk, a place made for dreams. A light breeze stirs the grass under my feet, the sun hides behind the clouds, and I walk along the path of Hare Island. This little patch of land in the middle of the city lake seems abandoned now, but in my mind, it's already coming alive in a different way. Right here, by the old willow, I imagine a wooden bridge arching over a small stream that doesn't exist yet. The water murmurs softly, and in the shade, artists sit sketching the lake and the clouds reflected in its surface. I walk further, and where reeds now grow thick, I see cozy gazebos made of pale wood. The air is filled with the scent of fresh mint tea and warm pies. At the next table, someone strums a ukulele while another reads poetry aloud. It feels as if the whole island has turned into a living, breathing book. At the highest point of the island, I picture a lookout tower. You climb the winding staircase, and before you opens a panorama of Chelyabinsk, the city, the lake, the distant forests. And in the evening, you can watch the sunset from up here, its reflection turning the water to liquid gold. Among the wild rose bushes, I imagine wooden hares, hand-carved, large and small. Children would search for them like characters in an old fairy tale. And maybe, just maybe, at night these wooden hares come to life and gather by a fire to tell each other old stories of lake spirits and ghost ships. Farther on, there's a clearing where I see an open-air summer cinema. Light blankets, popcorn, glowing string lights. They show only strange films here, the kind you can watch while gazing up at the stars. And if you walk deeper still, to the far edge of the island, hidden among thick trees, there's an old boathouse. Boats rest there, each with a name carved on its side. Dream, Quiet Wave, Seagull. Anyone could take a boat out to the middle of the lake, to sit in silence, or make a wish. I stop at the shore. The water gently laps against a driftwood branch. It's quiet and empty now, but if you close your eyes, you can hear laughter, rustling leaves, soft music. This island is waiting for its moment, waiting for someone to believe in it again. I smile. Maybe that someone is me.
Привет, привет.
For birds and animals, this is a quiet, peaceful haven. That's why ducks are plentiful here. And in the forest you can often spot squirrels darting between the trees, behaving with surprising boldness. It seems they've grown so accustomed to people that they no longer see them as a danger. These little creatures might come right up to you, hoping for a treat. And if a passerby happens to have nothing suitable, like a few nuts, it's no trouble. In the warmth of the season, the squirrels will easily find something to nibble on across this vast, green island. As for where these squirrels came from, that remains a small mystery. The nearest forest lies quite far from here. Perhaps these nimble residents were simply born on the island and have called it home ever since. There's no shortage of birds on the island either. Alongside the ducks, plenty of pigeons roam about. Some of them are so bold, they don't just strut around under people's feet, but even try to squeeze themselves into bird feeders clearly meant for much smaller, more polite birds. Then again, city pigeons have never exactly been known for their good manners. Zaiki Island is known for its exceptionally tall, wide-spreading trees, something especially noticeable when compared to the trees along the riverbanks. In places where residential buildings are constructed and utilities laid, trees are constantly being cut down or at least have their branches trimmed. On the island, there are no such restrictions. Here, the trees grow as tall as they can, until one day a hurricane force wind snaps an old, towering tree, and that's simply nature taking its course. If you ever feel like escaping into dense, cooling shade, you should definitely visit this island on a hot summer's day. Back in the 1980s, an embankment bridge was built across the left channel of the river, with a drainage pipe laid beneath it. However, the pipe quickly clogged, and the waters in the channel soon turned stagnant and swampy. Yet for the residents of Baleko Street and the surrounding neighborhoods, this change offered a new convenience. It became much easier to reach the island for a stroll or a morning jog. The spacious, green island proved ideal for fitness enthusiasts and leisurely walks alike. Those needing to get from Baleko Street to Rossiyskaya Street no longer had to waste time making a long detour via the Leningradsky Bridge on the tram. A simple walk across the island and over to modest bridges was enough. Given that a hospital, serving many of the local residents, is located on Rossiyskaya Street, this shortcut turned out to be especially useful. Curiously, the neglected stretch of river has taken on a kind of quiet, nostalgic charm. Ducks still glide through the water, and locals can often be seen fishing from the banks. It feels like a surviving fragment of the Soviet past, a gentle reminder of the simpler life people once led here. The old private houses along the river's left bank, however, have not endured. In the early 1980s, a handful of weathered wooden homes still stood there, with small docks nearby for swimming and mooring boats, echoes of a vanished era. If you continue along the circular path around the island after crossing the embankment bridge, the landscape seems to brighten. To your right, tall trees rise like silent sentinels. To your left opens a view of the Mayas River's left bank, where clusters of apartment blocks stand. Most of these buildings were raised in the Soviet era, though in the 21st century the city's relentless growth began to fill the empty spaces. Vast open lots that once stretched before those old Soviet houses were soon occupied by new 10-story apartment blocks. It's said that in some of the buildings closest to the river, water still seeps into the basements, a problem no one has yet been able to solve. And yet, the presence of this vast green island so close to home remains a quiet blessing for the people living nearby, though it's best not to venture here after dark. For one, the island's thick greenery offers a measure of protection against the industrial haze from the Chelyabinsk electrometallurgic plant. For another, having a river and open space within reach is always a rare and cherished gift in a bustling city. Not everyone in Chelyabinsk has the good fortune of stepping out to the riverbank, pausing to admire the quiet beauty of the water, to breathe in air touched by trees and open sky. Here, one can also let the mind drift, imagining what this place might have looked like a century ago, and what it could become, should one of the long-dreamed projects to transform the island one day come to life. One such vision was a Chinese-designed project that imagined a Jade City, a multifunctional cultural and business complex split into two worlds, a sprawling parkland and a vibrant public and commercial district. According to the plan, the island would be linked to the mainland by two bridges, each with an 8-meter wide roadway and pedestrian walkways flanking either side. The island itself was to house a center for scientific and technical innovation, a Chinese medicine and wellness retreat, office spaces, conference halls, and elegant showrooms. There would be boutique galleries and street-facing shops, a residential and hotel complex, and areas for relaxation, a park, a spa with pools and steam baths, a modern fitness center. Entertainment venues were also imagined, possibly even featuring a Chinese circus, along with cafes, tea houses, and restaurants scattered throughout. A vision of something entirely new, and yet delicately in conversation with the island's quiet, forgotten past.